Okay, quick review. Okay, here's what we covered that I want to be sure we hit home. First of all, the distance between any two notes is called an interval, right? We've learned three intervals now. We know the interval of an octave, that is the note C to the next note C above it. Another interval we've learned is the interval of a half step, that is any note up to its next closest note or down to its next closest note. Okay, so the smallest possible interval we have in music is a half step. The third one we've learned is a whole step. That is two half steps. So that is from here, in this case, this is a C up to D is going to be a whole step. From D up to E is going to be a whole step because there's one in between. And from E up to F sharp is going to be a whole step because there has to be a note in between. That's a half step. That's a half step. So this is a whole step. Okay? Another concept we've learned is flats and sharps. Remember that flat means a little bit lower, but now that we've defined what little bit means, let's call it what it is, which is a half step lower. If something is a flat, it's always a half step lower. We've learned sharps, and remember, sharp is what I called originally a little bit higher, but now that we know what little bit means, let's call it a half step higher. So to get to a sharp, if you see a note that says A sharp, you know that to find that note on a keyboard, you have to find A, the white note A, and then you're going to go up a half step, which is going to be a black note, A sharp. So those are our main topics that we've learned in this section. I'm going to give you a little worksheet in this next one so that you can practice naming these notes and finding them on a keyboard. Okay, so if you don't have a keyboard to practice on, if you're using MuseScore like I am, you can always queue up, their little keyboard and play it. Otherwise, I have a little MIDI keyboard here. You can get one of these really cheap MIDI keyboards that you can plug in. So I have this cheap little MIDI keyboard here, and I have it plugged in with USB to my computer, and it's just playing through MuseScore. So MuseScore makes it sound like a piano, which is handy to have. You don't need one, but if you have one, it can be really useful. But this on-screen keyboard will work just fine. Okay, so please try out this little worksheet and then get some practice on it. Rewatch these lectures if you didn't quite get anything. And then we'll move on to reading pitches on the music staff in the next chunk.